Hello, everybody. It's Brandon Clayman, and we've got some new content for you. Before we dive in, raise your hand if you can hear me. Awesome. And can you see the screen? Just raise your hand if you can see the screen. Nicole, double check.
Yep, all is working.
Awesome. Okay, great. We're going to dive into Google My Business, live demo, best practices. It's a pretty important property, but before we get involved further, I want you to meet the team. So I have Nicole Maynard here with me. She's a colleague and has worked with me for just over a year now. We've been working on a lot of event presentations, and Nicole's come a long way in the last little while. So say hi.
Hi guys, I'm excited to have you joining us for today's webinar.
Nicole also is in charge of our managed account program, and there's a lot of cool products that we talk to clients about all the time, and that's something that she's managing and part of. And this is Brandon Clayman, in case you don't know who I am. I've been in the digital marketing world for 25 years. I've had the pleasure of providing solutions to the White House and Yale and Harvard and all kinds of amazing outfits, but my favorite types of clients are small business owners, and I really appreciate working one-on-one with clients, and because the results are visible and the relationship can be a lot more transparent, and that to me is very, very effective in the form of creating a long-term partnership. So okay, let's just dive into this. So we actually, the way we're going to do this presentation is we're going to have a PowerPoint presentation running, and then I'm going to probably be switching back and forth. So as I'm talking about things, I'll show you what I'm talking about, because there's a lot of text on the presentation, and I want to be able to give you a little bit more of a live demo of what's going on here. But here's the agenda, and for those of you who are just joining, we are recording this. If you're already enrolled in our managed account program or your managed services clients, hello Ruth, welcome. I think Tony is also. You can, essentially we can just do this one-on-one with your property, and you'll get the webinar recording as well. So let's go for it. Raise your hand. Do you have a retail business, or even just, are you aware if you even have a Google My Business listing? Use the hand option. Let me know. You can even use the chat, and you can send to Nicole what your listing is. Google My Business is I call this really the transactional layer of the internet, where a ton of engagements take place on this listing alone. And it's become incredibly relevant and popular and a high priority property in the entire world of digital marketing. Google makes this product free, so you don't have to pay for the actual Google My Business listing itself. They've done this on purpose because they are trying to document the entire world online. It's back to that transactional layer. We'll get into more detail about that, but what it can do is it connects your business with your clients and or prospects. And most of the discoverability takes place on organic searches. There's a ton of information that you can use as part of building out your Google My Business listing. And we look at it as if it's a combination between a website, a organic property, and a social media property. Like it has all of these attributes. So the first thing you need to do is claim your listing. And just again, I'm going to ask if you already have a listing, raise your hand. Thank you, Ruth. I know you have one. So what happens is you essentially need to do your search on Google for your business. If you see that the listing is already there, you can go through the process of claiming the listing. If it's not there, then you would go through the process of creating the business listing from scratch. You start it off new. And what you need to do is obviously get your business verified. Once that's verified, then the game really begins. It's like you having a property out there. If it's not verified, it's just floating out there and you really don't have control over it. And until then, similar to Yelp and other major websites out there, you need to own the listing. And to do that, you need to verify it. So these are some of the steps involved. So you find yourself, then enter the business name. You can select categories. The whole category selection process is a strategic process. And then you can have your business appear on the maps. You also have category-specific best practices and options available as well. So if you're a restaurant, then you can add your menu. If you are a coach, like Brooke is, then you can have a booking link to your actual, to get booked for a call. So each industry and or category has specific functionality built in. Verification is a bit of a tedious process for most of us. It's done by mail. Literally, a postcard gets sent to your address for where you're located, and then you get a code, and then you go back and you verify it. You can at times do it by phone, email, or bulk verification if you got a lot of locations. We have some clients that have a lot of locations, and it makes it easier to do a bulk verification at the same time. If you already have Google Search Console, then you can potentially get verified through that because you've already been verified already through Google's other various tools. So some people might wonder, like, well, I don't really have a brick and mortar business. Should I be doing this? And I think what you can do is create a service-based location listing where instead of your home address being revealed, you can change it to be more of like what areas are you servicing? So there are pros and cons to doing it that way as well. So more on the setup process. So like I was saying to you before, a Google My Business listing is similar to like building a website. You've got a lot of information that you could be adding. Some of the specifics are your business name, address, service areas, categories, all your contact information, like your name, address, phone number, all of that needs to be very accurate, literally to the keystroke. Like it has to be, if you're going to use a certain phone number, if you're using brackets around your area code, then you need to make sure that that's consistent on all the other listings as well. And then you do the verification, and then you've got all these other options like adding photos. You can literally take a picture of your entire interior and exterior views of the location and all of the attributes as well. Like you have a section for your team. There's a whole bunch of different spots, and I'll show you all that later. But yeah, you can now add a short name for the listing, so it makes it easier to remember. Similar to a Twitter or a Instagram handle, you get one now with Google My Business. The photos, expanding on that, so you have all of these photo options. And what Google's trying to do here is teach people how to structure data. So one of the underlying strategies with SEO is structured data. So every time you publish a photo, if it's an exterior photo, interior products, photos at work, food and drink photos, common areas, team photos, Google says, okay, this is the virtualization of a business. And so they structure it accordingly to help you better, like as a consumer when you're searching, better see who this business is before you start to engage them. This is the starting point. So yeah, that's really important, that you don't just like put this property out there and forget about it. This is honestly, when I start to show you some of the stats, you're going to be blown away. So back to the organic piece, because this is sitting on a map platform, your mobile devices kick in and have a huge say when it comes to visibility, proximity, and discoverability. And the mobile world has already taken over. This is not something that's happening, it's already occurred. So now the emphasis is massively focused on localization. Hyper local are some of the keywords that are being used to describe how the landscape has changed and how important it is to make sure that one of the most sensitive areas in your realm of digital happens to be your Google My Business listing. So verifying the information, I'm reiterating some of this, but it's really important. Making sure the profile is completely filled out. NAP stands for name, address, phone number. So that needs to be consistent across the web. And I'll just explain to you that if you do what's called a citation campaign, we've done one of these for Ruth, where we're submitting all of the business information out into the world. And if Google sees discrepancies in the name of your company or the address or the phone number, they're not going to trust you nearly as much. And so that all needs to be rectified before you decide to go marketing and trying to acquire organic traffic. It's critical. And I notice a lot of people like to make changes on the fly, brand name changes. I've seen it over my career, brand name changes taking place, and then they forget to fill out all the other areas, and emails are floating around. It gets ugly fast, and it just creates disclarity for consumers, reducing confidence, making it harder for them to decide whether or not they can trust. Yeah, so categories, photos are important, and getting pro photos, I think, are also part of it. Today's iPhones can do the trick. But ideally, you want to have a professional photographer, get in there, do some video, do a 360 virtual tour. There's all kinds of options that are available. And then there's reviews, and then there's posts. So you can do all of these types of things to get more visibility on Google My Business, and that's where the posts come into play. The review piece is a major component to Google My Business. This is, you can have a company do really well in terms of organic SEO and get visibility without having many reviews. But this is the other half of it where consumer engagement comes to life. It's one thing getting found first on Google. It's another thing when you see the 5-star reviews coming in, and that absolutely attributes towards an engagement. And when I talk about engagements, I'm talking about phone calls, direction requests, the things that you can add to your actual profile, bookings, like actual meeting bookings. There's a variety of things that can take place. Even messaging now. If you have the Google My Business app, then you can use that as an instant messaging tool to receive communications from prospects and existing customers off your listing. And that's now coming into effect at the end of this month. I think it's now permanent, where you have to have the app in order to get the communications. But regarding the reviews, you can see some of the points here that we've got. Obviously, increasing brand trust. Google tracks, how you're found, so it knows when people are searching for your brand name or something related to your brand. So again, trust, and then it correlates. Okay, well, if a user found you by looking up your brand name and then they called you, then that makes for a really good story. That's what Google's looking for, those types of connections. The reviews are something that also can be responded to. So when you are getting these reviews, don't just be happy about getting a review. That's just half of it. You need to respond online, because same with Facebook, your business page, if you don't respond to people, then Facebook starts to calculate your response rate. And if they see that you're not responding fast enough, then they're going to put that on your profile publicly, and it can impact the quality of service you're delivering. So you definitely want to respond to the reviews. And you also have an option in there for questions and answers. So clients will ask, and you might have seen this on Amazon quite a bit, where another buyer or consumer on Amazon will answer questions for other consumers asking those questions. So that's more of like an opportunity to get like an FAQ or QA process going in off of your listing. Very useful for just helping to clarify any questions that are coming in. The more content and the more discussion that's being discussed around your listing, the better off Everyone is, as long as it's good news. You obviously don't want to be stuck having to deal with, bad reviews all day, because your business won't last very long. Especially with today's visibility, it's really, really critical to maintain that impeccable reputation. And just from a branding perspective, what this really comes down to is, what kind of experience are you creating for your clients? Ruth is a client that we've worked with, Worldwide Eco Tours, and she's been doing this for a long time. And the truth is, her clients keep coming back because Ruth continually is wowing them with these worldwide eco tours. And ecotourism's become really popular, but also a little bit more challenging on who do you pick as your tour company and your travel agency. And so Ruth has done a fantastic job to develop and create the experiences. And I hope for all of you, you do the same. I know, Tony, you're doing the chamber. You've got the chamber that you're running. And Brooke is doing some coaching. I don't know everyone else who's on the call, but for those who I do know, it's all about the experience. And then that gets bound to your online digital profiles. The other thing that Google does is gives you a website. So you can have a website on Google, and it's like, for us, we don't really do much with that. We build it, and I'll show you an example, but we build it and then we leave it alone. We're not interested in running and managing that particular piece. It's Google's just trying to be nice and say, hey, we'll give you a free website tool. The tool is super basic. We can't really do much with it. And so we don't even really build it out, but we do get the backlink, and the backlink is useful for SEO's purpose. So the free listing is available to everybody. If you wanted to do all that on your own, that's up to you. But if you wanted our help, we can totally help. I'm going to dive more deeper into a live demo and show you some other cool stuff as we begin to wrap up the presentation. So here's a whole bunch of events coming up that we're offering, and we do these on a weekly basis. So let me just get to what I wanted to show you. And there's also a download that Nicole has made available to you. This is Google's holiday playbook. Definitely good reading, and if you haven't already gotten yourself ready and set up for, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you better hop on that and get something going. Even here in Canada, where we're based, we do work with the United States. Canadians are taking advantage of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals and promotions. But this is a nice calendar of events and some good stats and everything going on in here for you to look at and to wrap your mind around. The download is available. So I'm going to show you some metrics. So what you're looking at right now is location-specific metrics for one particular client that we're working with. And what you can see here, just within 30 days, they've had 178 direction requests. So that's when somebody goes and looks for your listing, then they find your listing and they hit that button to go and get direction requests that then loads up Google Maps. Or if you don't have maps, it'll stick to the browser-based version. This client also got 159 phone calls from their listing. And then 87 website visits. This is to their actual website. So that's really, really good for 1 month for one location. That shows, some specific engagements that are bankable. We know that if there's 178 direction requests, that these are people intending on showing up to buy something at that store. The 159 phone calls could be, a bunch of questions being asked and answered, and that, from the 159 leads to people, okay, I'm coming over, to pick up my paint or whatever it is. This happens to be a Benjamin Moore location in Vancouver. And you can see here the listings on the map. So I'll give you a different view. If you look at the insights here, you can see there's been 40,000 searches almost, 39,335. The views of how many times has the listing actually appeared in 30 days, 67,000 times. And it shows you the breakdown. So this is on Google search, and then the map listing, 63,000. And what I was I was telling you that before, but mobile, totally taking over. The map views are most of those are on mobile. And then they got 448 actions, 191 direction requests, 168 phone calls. And this is the back end of a listing. And you can add photos, you can add products, services. Here's the website. This is a cheesy looking website, but it gives you the backlink. This is coming from Google. And the nice thing about this is that it'll automatically update based on the posts that are taking place in Google My Business, and any of the reviews that are coming in automatically get published. So to us, you know, it's good, as well as the service location, all of the hours of operation. All of this is perfectly structured. Look, powered by Google. It's your own website that you get inside of Google My Business. But it, like I said, you can't do much with it, but you definitely can make use of the fact that it's free. And the posts that you get, it's like social media. You can add a product, an update, an event, an offer. You can go through and upload the photo, have a title. If it's time specific, you can go in and specifically drill down to all the details that are available. For people doing events, I know Brooke does events. You can easily do the event in here and just publish that, and it gets now syndicated inside of Google's world. So I would say that if you're not taking advantage of Google My Business, you need to. It's absolutely something that should be happening. And what we do for our clients, so here, get ready for it. Here comes the pitch. Nothing crazy. But what we do for clients is when we take on the responsibility of managing your Google My Business listing, we go through the process of making sure that the profile is up to date. We add photos, services, and products on a monthly basis. We make sure that there's enough posts that are following the best practices in order to achieve the ranking. So what you want to look for is, you know, we do geogrid reporting. This is what I wanted to show you. So I'm going to do a geogrid report as a final piece here, where I've got a location. Just give me a sec here. So here's the location, and then the keyword I'll just put in is paint. And this will give us I'll just put a 1 kilometer, actually 2.5 kilometer radius. And what this will do is it will show you what is their current proximity ranking based on paint, based on a 2.5 kilometer radius to where they are. And each time you click on this, it will show you, here's their location, they're ranked 4th. This is incredibly important for any local business to obviously have the highest ranking possible. We recently took over this client. I'm expecting everything to be in the 1 or 2 range in the next month or so, but they're almost there, you know, and the goal is obviously to be #1. If you're showing up #1 in the maps, you have a very good chance of getting a phone call or a direction request, as you can see. Does anybody want me to try a proximity report for your business? I can do one now. It takes a couple of seconds. I just need to know your company name and what keyword you want me to look at. You can just use the questions box or use the chat if you're responding to Nicole to do that. While we're waiting for that, I will say that we do run promotions, and the event exclusive for today is that we'll give you 50% off if you have a brand new location that you need set up. So you would pay $250 for the location, so that's 50% off. And then ongoing management for us to do all this work on your location specifically is $250 a month per location. And we only focus on your Google My Business listing. We don't do full SEO on your entire business because that can get incredibly pricey, and we find that for a lot of small businesses, this is the sweet spot. So this is a managed listing service for Google My Business that we would do. Does anybody want me to do a proximity search for you? If not, that's cool. All good. We can always follow up later. Anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? Okay. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. I hope you learned a few good key points on Google My Business. And for those of you in the United States, I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I will see you next week. Okay, bye for now.